Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming today. We're going to go ahead and get started. This meeting is being recorded, and the recording will be posted on the project website. There we go. This is the Riverview Community Plan Update, virtual open house. My name is Andrea Papandrew. I'm a senior planner with Hillsborough County Planning Commission, and I'm the project manager for the Community Plan Update. On my team and with me here today is Jay Collins, our Special Area Study Manager, Melissa Dickens, the Division Director, and Victoria Durand, Planner 1, who will also be presenting with me today. So today's virtual meeting is going to be a presentation followed by a Q&A, and an agenda is going to be posted in the chat. So there's a couple of ways that you can participate in this meeting today. So you've got the question box at the bottom of your screen where you can add in any questions that you have during the presentation. We have staff that are do our best to answer them. And then we also have a chat box, which is where staff will be putting links, additional information throughout the presentation. And we have a couple of questions for you guys today, which is where you'll also place your answers. If you're at the bottom of your screen and you don't see one of these boxes, you might have to click the three little dots that have, more info on them for these to appear. So this meeting is being recorded, again, and we're going to post that on the project website. Oops. So our office has fielded calls related to an ongoing rezoning and plan amendment submitted by Mosaic. So tonight's meeting, it does include the geography of the Mosaic application, but this meeting is not about the application itself. That is a separate process that exists for the public to discuss the application. If you want more information about that application and how you can publicly comment, we ask you to reach out to Willow Mitchie on our Planning Commission staff and Sam Ball from the Department of Development Services. So that contact information for both of those individuals is going in the meeting chat. And if you have specific concerns or comments, please contact them. So before we jump into Riverview, we just wanted to also briefly touch on a separate study that is being done by the Tampa Hillsborough Expressway Authority on US 301. So the study area runs along 301 from the current Selman Expressway extension where it ends down to Sun City Center. The Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners, which is your elected officials, requested that the Tampa Hillsborough Expressway Authority, also known as THEA, uh, that they conduct this study. So this is separate from the community plan meeting that you're here tonight for Riverview, but the study goes on 301 that goes right through the heart of Riverview. So we wanted to let you know about the study, and we have a representative from THEA that's here today. So when we get to the end of the presentation in our Q&A session, and if you have questions, we can try and see if the THEA representative can answer those as well. So thank you for joining us tonight. If you've been to one of our meetings before, welcome back. If you haven't, thank you for joining us on this Tuesday evening. I'm going to quickly explain who we are as Plan Hillsborough and the Planning Commission before we get into the Riverview Community Plan update. So Plan Hillsborough is composed of three bodies, and we are the planning agency for Hillsborough County, established by legislature in 1989. The first body is the Hillsborough County City County Planning Commission, which does the long-range comprehensive planning. And so the staff on this call, including myself, we are part of the Planning Commission. And then the second body is the Hillsborough Transportation Planning Organization, and they do the long-range transportation policy and planning for Hillsborough. And then lastly, we've got the River Board. They do the planning and the regulation and development along the Hillsborough River. So the Planning Commission itself is an independent agency, and our board is led by 10 citizens who are appointed by your elected officials, and they represent all four jurisdictions in Hillsborough County. We provide recommendations on land use, community planning, housing, and other issues that the comprehensive plan covers. So staff, as Planning Commission staff, we provide those recommendations to the Planning Commission, the board. And then they decide a recommendation, and that recommendation goes to your board of county commissioners, your elected officials who make have the authority to make the final decision for the unincorporated county. So what is the comprehensive plan? This is a little flow chart to kind of go through the different layers. So the comprehensive plan is a state mandated document. It gets adopted by the county government and reviewed by the state. So we at the Planning Commission, we maintain and we update that comprehensive plan. So within that comprehensive plan are different sections such as housing, land use, the environment, mobility, and those set the long-term goals, the objectives, and the policies for the unincorporated county. Within that comprehensive plan, there's one section called the Livable Communities element, and that contains community plans. And community plans, they kind of build on the topics that are in the comprehensive plan, and they reflect a specific area's vision, goals, and priorities through public input. So Hillsborough County has 23 adopted community plans, and they have 23 community plans because every community is unique. Riverview is not the same as Apollo Beach or Brandon or Little Manatee South. Riverview has its own priorities, its own vision for the future. So topics like housing and transportation and land use and how those specifically fit into the vision and the goals for Riverview. That is what the community plan process is about, and that's what we're going to be talking to you guys today about. There's a separate document called the Land Development Code. This looks at zoning. So this is done by the Development Services Department within the county. This is separate from the comprehensive plan and the community plan. So if you're here today and you have a specific zoning question or you have a zoning in your neighborhood that you want answers on, we have the county department contact information that staff's going to be putting in chat now. And that'll help you get in touch with that department for any questions. So what is a community plan? I kind of touched on this a bit already. It's that extension of a comprehensive plan with has goals and strategies representing the community's future priorities. So the community plan updates, those are initiated by the Board of County Commissioners. And then staff goes out and develops a public engagement strategy. We assess the existing conditions in the community. We interact with the community. We have community meetings like this, and then we finalize a community plan. A community plan does not change your land use or your zoning. And being within the boundaries of a community plan does not affect your school district, your address, your zip code, or your tax info. None of that is changing. So how is it actually used? Why are we actually giving you input today? Uh, it's used by Hillsborough County staff. It's used by that staff to inform or prioritize projects, such as infrastructure. One of the ways that's implemented is through the Capital Improvements Program, which identifies and prioritizes projects, infrastructure projects for the county. And I believe staff are all putting that link in the chat as well if you'd like to go on and see what the county is doing in Riverview or other areas. It's also used by elected officials when considering development decisions. It's used by our staff, Plan Commission staff, when we review an application for new development or we inform other policies of the comprehensive plan. And it's also can be used by you as the members of the Riverview community. So when you have a finalized plan that's adopted, it can be used by community members to advocate for the vision that the plan lays out. It can be used when you have, if you want to go and submit a public comment or provide feedback on a future project or study. You can, go to a public hearing and then hold up your community plan and say, before you elected official vote on this project, how is it consistent with the community plan that I have today for my community? So it helps you kind of speak with a shared, unified voice. It does not allocate funds for infrastructure projects. So this is not a tool to get a specific project done. So if you have a sidewalk in front of your house that needs to be built or fixed, that is not what the community plan does. It does not change your property or land use or zoning. So if you own a piece of property and you want to change the zoning on it, that's not the process for this. So a community plan is not a catch-all. There's going to be issues that get raised that cannot be addressed in a community plan. But if you have an infrastructure project, if you want to do the zoning process, if you have another question that we can't answer today or that is not part of the community plan process, we have all the contact information for the county departments who do manage those processes, and we will do our best to get you in contact with them so that you can get your question answered. So the Riverview Community Plan, current plan was adopted in 2005. It consists of 13 goals and strategies. From 2005, the Riverview area is broken down into different character districts, and that's that puzzle piece map that you see on the screen before you. So it's got different districts, and one of them is the 301 district, which is that pink color. So design guidelines for these districts, for US 301 district, were codified in the county's land development code. So again, that's another way that a community plan can be implemented. It's through specific guidelines in the zoning code. And the Board of County Commissioners requested this update to the plan in conjunction with the US Highway 301 study by the Tampa Hillsborough Expressway Authority. So this is kind of the steps through the community plan update process. The board requests an update. Staff, we review existing community plan, the existing plan from 2005, the existing conditions, the land use, transportation. We have a map series that is on our website if you'd like to look at that more. We go out into the community in multiple rounds of community meetings. This is our third round of meetings, surveys, online public comments, and we kind of get feedback from the community as we go through this process. And then once we have a draft community plan that the community has seen and reviewed, then we submit into the plan amendment process and we go through public hearings and we go to the Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners. And if community plan gets, approved, then it's adopted into that comprehensive plan. So that's kind of the introduction to comprehensive and community planning and who we are as Plan Hillsborough and what we do. And I'm going to turn it over now to Victoria Duran so she can walk through what we've heard so far from the Riverview community.
Thank you, Andrea. Hi, everyone. My name's Victoria, as Andrea mentioned earlier. So, so far, we have organized 6 community meetings in 2025 and 2026 and had approximately 145 participants and more. We've also had 3 surveys so far with a total of 970 plus responses from the community. The 4th survey, which is currently open now, and I believe the link will be going into the chat, will be open until June 5th. And we've had 157. Oh, I did mention that. Oh, yeah, we have had 157 participants and 977 surveys for everything. Go to the next slide. So for our first survey, we did do a SWOT analysis, which is a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis. And these are the results that we received. The largest words on the screen were the most common themes that we heard. So for strengths, you see small town feel, quality schools, Alafaya River. Weaknesses, you see traffic and roads. Opportunities, you see the same traffic, roads, and infrastructure. And then with threats, you also see those uh, common themes of traffic, roads, overcrowding. So, some common themes that we heard across both surveys and in the meetings were that residents were frustrated with traffic and believe that infrastructure hasn't kept up with pace and growth. Residents also raised concerns about rapid growth and the loss of Riverview's character and green space. At the same time, they're asking for balanced, well-planned development, better connectivity, protected natural areas, and the creation of real community gathering spaces like a town center. This is just some of the feedback we received, and more feedback can be seen on our website with the survey results, which I believe the link to our website was posted earlier in the chat. And you can see all of the feedback we've received there, including public comments. So moving on, in our past surveys and community meetings, we did ask residents to rank themes by priority. And as you see on the screen, transportation was ranked first, followed by infrastructure and public services, and then third by recreation and environmental protection. And then you can see where the list goes on. And again, this is some of the feedback that helped shape the goals and the vision. So now I want to go ahead and transition into our draft vision, goals, and concept map. During these next few slides, we are going to be asking everyone some questions to help inform the goals and the vision for our draft plan. So if you could please write your comments in the chat, that would be greatly appreciated. So starting off with the vision. If you attended one of our past meetings, you most likely provided feedback on what you think the vision for Riverview should be within the next 10 years. In our first round of, or in our second round of meetings, actually, we asked residents to tell us what you guys would like to keep, change, or add from the original vision. And based on that feedback, staff created our current draft vision. The full vision is going to be posted in the chat, so I'm just going to highlight some portions of that vision, which are the bullet points on the screen. So things that we heard were that residents wanted, um, the vision mentions that Riverview is a suburban community of diverse neighborhoods, that Riverview values its hometown atmosphere and natural and recreational assets, that Riverview wants growth and development that is balanced and compatible with its character in support of mix of uses, that transportation and infrastructure improvements um, wants enhanced mobility and connectivity. There was also mentioned environmental stewardship and a strong protection for its national resources like the Alafaya River, and same thing, accessible but safeguarded riverfront, and then interconnected community nodes along US 301, which we will get into later on. So next, you will see here being posted in the chat. So I'm just going to read these questions out loud. So from those past bullet points, or if you access the vision that was posted in the chat, what are some things that you would like to change? So what's things that need to be improved from that or updated? What should be removed? What parts of the vision do not reflect Riverview's future? And then what other things could we add? What are some new ideas that should be added that aren't there? What's missing? What additional priorities matter to you? So I'm just going to give us a few minutes for everyone to type what they feel in the chat. And if you don't think that anything needs to be changed or added, you do agree with what was written in the past, that's totally okay too. Don't need to write anything. And Andrea, if you could go back to the next slide so people can look at those bullet points, or to the past slide. Okay. Feel free to keep posting those in the chat, just maybe type in vision, but I'm going to now start moving on to the goals. And we'll be asking some questions there. So, the original community plan did consist of 13 goals, as Andrea mentioned. We took those 13 goals and we condensed those goals into themes and asked the community to rank those goals based on priority, which in the past slide where you saw the ranked priorities where transportation was first, that is where we got these current draft goals, and this is the order that they will be in. So, goal one is transportation and connectivity. And the language for that says that the community supports the maintenance and improvement of an interconnected transportation system that provides safe, accessible, consistent, and enhanced facilities to meet all existing and future needs for all modes of travel. Now, with this being said, I would love for you guys to put in the chat what type of strategies should be considered under Goal 1. So, I saw some comments about traffic lights, stuff like that. Anything that you can think can help support this goal, please feel free to put that in the chat, and I'll give everyone a minute to do that as well. See lots of comments. Thank you, everyone. All right, moving on to goal number 2, which is infrastructure and public service. And again, feel free to keep putting those comments in. Maybe just say goal 1 and then whatever your comment may be so that we can track that on later and we will take this back. All right, goal 2 is infrastructure and public services. This is anything related to the fire department, sheriff department, water resources, solid waste, stormwater, your schools, your parks and recreation, your libraries, anything that's available to you as a resident. So the language for this says that the community seeks the maintenance and expansion and improvement of high quality, safe public services, facilities, and infrastructure that provide public health, safety, and welfare. So again, same question, what strategies should be considered under Goal 2? Okay, thank you everyone for the comments. Again, feel free to keep posting those comments in. This is part of our activity, and we will be taking these comments and summarizing them and using it to build the draft plan. So moving on to goal 3. This is recreation, environmental protection. So this language says that the community supports the preservation, maintenance, and enhancement of its natural environment, recreation, and green and open spaces. The community seeks equally the protection of the Alafai River and the enhancement of recreational opportunities. Again, same question, what strategies should be considered under Goal 3? I did see some comments about um, more recreational opportunities along the river for goal 2. Feel free to write in those similar comments as well for goal 3 if that's what you feel. Also, now I'm going to be moving on to goal 4, and I did see a comment saying that there's a short time frame if this can be submitted somewhere else later. Our project website, which was put in the chat earlier, or you can go to planhillsboro.org/plan Riverview. We do have a public comment option on our website, and our PowerPoint will be on our website as well. So feel free to go back into the PowerPoint after this meeting or another day, and then also submit a public comment with everything that you would like to say. We will keep that part of our records. So if you are unable to answer everything today, you can always email us or submit a public comment. Moving on to goal number 4, which is development standards and design. That language says the community desires balanced growth and development and redevelopment that encourages a mix of land uses, the support of remaining agricultural areas, and achieve design and densities compatible with Riverview's vision. Again, what strategies should be considered under Goal 4? Okay, go ahead and move on to goal number 5. So, goal 5 is community character. The community desires to enhance its community character through revitalizing its hometown atmosphere, establishing identified nodes, and maintaining its agricultural heritage, preserving its cultural and historical resources, and providing community gathering spaces. So again, what strategies should be considered for Goal 5? Okay. And finally, I will be moving on to Goal 6. Goal 6 is economic development. The community supports the encouragement and promotion of local businesses and job opportunities, a variety of commercial options, and accessible and connected commercial areas. So finally, what strategy should be considered under Goal 6? Again, as I mentioned earlier, if you guys would like, you can also send us an email or send us a public comment with all of your comments for the goals. Also, our survey, which I believe was posted in the chat, does go in depth and ask questions about the goals and how we can support the goals. So you can also take the survey and let us know your feedback there. Just give us all a few more minutes to type in any last comments. All right. Thank you everyone so much for participating in the goals and the vision section of the activity. For the next portion of the presentation, we are going to be talking about the draft concept map. Please feel free to keep putting in your comments, and I am going to hand it over to Andrea to talk about the nodes and corridors, which is something that came up earlier.
Yeah, thank you, Victoria. Yes, for anybody, thank you for participating in the activity. And I know that was a lot of content. So if you have, but we do have a survey that has a lot of detailed questions, and has the individual goals on there and the vision and this concept map. So if you have more thoughts and ideas, I believe Jay or somebody else from staff is posting the survey link. Please take the survey. You can also reach out to us, an email or a public comment, but the survey is a great way to put all your thoughts in one place. So I'm going to go through the kind of touch on the concept map here. So the full size map, 'cause I know this might be a little hard to see, is on our website, and Jay or somebody else is posting that in the chat. This is just a draft concept map. It follows the draft plan. So I'm going to touch on some of the items on the legend here to kind of orient you about what's on the map. But we encourage you to go to the survey where you can pull up the map and zoom in different areas and really answer the questions that are associated with that. So to start with, you've got the black outline boundary. So this solid line here. That shows the Riverview Community Plan boundary, and you might have seen that on some of the maps on the earlier slides. So that is Bloomingdale Avenue and the Alafia River on the north. On the east by Bonboyette and Boyette Road. On the west by Hillsborough Bay and I-75, and generally on the south by the Little Bullfrog Creek and Baum Road. And then, see if this will work. There we go. US 301 runs through the center of Riverview. So the purple dotted line shows US 301 with a 1 mile boundary. It's the major north to south roadway in the community, and we've heard past concerns about congestion and connectivity on this road. And with the 301 study that's being done by FIA, it's an opportunity with the community plan update to kind of assess the land use and mobility options along the corridor and adjacent to the corridor. And then the blue outline shows the existing urban service area boundary. So the majority of Riverview today is within the urban service area boundary. The urban service area is a boundary, but it's also a tool used to plan and focus growth in areas where the county has planned infrastructure to serve development, with public facilities such as water and sewer service. And then the black hatched area shows the portion of Riverview Community Plan which overlaps with the adopted Baum Community Plan. And so that's in the southeastern corner. Then the green hatched area is the Coastal High Hazard Area boundary, also with the acronym of CHHA. This shows coastal lands which with a higher probability of flooding. That worked. There we go. So the pink line, the pink and blue lines and the blue dots shows centers and connections. So this was a new concept that was part of the 2024 update to the comprehensive plan. It's at the top of the map, at the kind of northern edge and beyond of Riverview on Bloomingdale Avenue. These are areas with a mix of uses and activity areas that usually have higher density and intensity. And then the connections are the kind of the routes that link to the centers. So these offer multiple methods of travel. So sidewalks, bike lanes, trails, roadways, and these centers and connections are all over unincorporated county, not just at the Bloomingdale Avenue. So that's everything that's kind of existing, adopted on the map today in the review area. Um, what we're going to talk about next is based on what we've heard, and Victoria has mentioned it kind of a little bit throughout the presentation, the proposed nodes and community nodes and corridors. So the draft concept map follows the draft plan, and that would remove those districts that I showed earlier in that puzzle piece map in the existing community plan and replace them with this map and the proposed community nodes and corridor concept. And this is a draft concept map, so it's just a draft. And part of the reason that we're showing you something today and having this meeting is to get the feedback from the community with our online survey, and our in-house in-person open houses. We want to hear if we're getting it right, if we're getting it wrong. And so that's kind of just wanted to not did not want anyone to think that this was a set in stone map. It is still very much in a draft form, and we're looking for feedback. For the community nodes, there are three proposed nodes along US 301, one at the intersection of 301 and Bloomingdale Avenue, the other at Gibsonton Drive and Boyett Road, and the third at Big Bend Road. So community nodes are their focus points. So they're intended to be kind of gathering places that would have a mix of uses, such as housing or jobs, community center, retail. It's kind of these could be areas that could have a little town center in the future. So this is a concept that's patterned after centers and connections. But unlike centers and connections, it would not change the current density or intensity that's allowed today. So the density being the number of, housing units per acre on a property, and the intensity, the amount of square footage that would be allowed on a property. So that would not change with this concept of nodes and corridors. Um, and then last on the map are the proposed corridors, which are the black dashed lines. These connect to the community nodes. These are the main roadways in the community, such as Riverview Drive, Bloomingdale Avenue, Big Bend Road, 301. And these, they link the nodes together. They link places together, and they would prioritize mobility and other infrastructure improvements. So we are going to throw a question in the chat, just kind of asking if you agree with the location of the nodes. If not, where would you put another community node? I'll go back to where they're highlighted. We have other questions on the map, but because this is a complex map, and we want to have time for Q&A, we're going to have asked that you take the survey to answer those questions or come to our in-person open house. We have maps tomorrow evening. We'd love to sit down and talk with you guys. So I'm going to ask staff to throw that question in the chat. I'm going to give everybody a few minutes, and then we'll wrap up the presentation and get to the Q&A portion. And if you're not sure right now, that's fine. You don't have to put anything in chat. You can think about it and email us later or take our survey. But I'm going to give another minute to see if anybody has any comments on if the proposed nodes are in the right place or if you think there should be somewhere else or that they should go. All right, I'm going to keep moving because I'm sure we have a lot of questions and I want to give as much time as possible. We're just going to wrap this up real quick at the end here. How to get involved. You can go online onto our project website. You can leave a public comment. You can take our survey. You're doing it now. You're participating in a virtual meeting. You can come to our in-person community meetings. This will not be the last time that we are out in the community for Riverview asking you questions about the community plan. We will be back. We also have some one-on-one opportunity coming up for office hours. We'll be at the YMCA on May 26th. If you want to in the evening, if you want to come down and ask us questions, provide feedback, that is where we will be. And then you can also volunteer as a plan ambassador. So if you are head of an HOA, or if you would like to get your neighbors and friends involved in the community plan, we'd love to have you work with us on that. And then this is just showing, this is the survey QR code as well for the survey. And then our last meeting in person for this round is tomorrow, 6 to 8 at the Riverview High School. And this all information is all on our project website as well. And then the project website, there's a QR code for the website. I know Jay has been throwing it in the chat as well. You, again, just all the different options and ways you can get involved. This is our contact information, myself and Jay Collins. It is also on the project website. I'll wait a couple seconds if anybody wants to take a picture or jot it down. We can also throw it in the chat for folks as well. And then the questions portion. So how to participate in the Q&A. You can submit questions anytime with the Q&A box, and we'll do our best to make sure we get to as many as possible. You also can raise your hand, and we will call on you, and you can unmute and ask your question. Or you could throw, anything that you'd like in the chat box. We know there's been a lot of great comments and questions already throughout this meeting, so we thank you all for participating, and we're going to do our best to answer as many as possible. And with that, I will hand it over to Jay.
All right, yeah, thank you, Andrea, and good evening, everybody. Jay Collins with the Planning Commission. So we've had a lot of great comments in the chat. Some of these questions that we received, I know that Ms. Dickens has been going through to actually answer some of those questions. I believe Mr. Rand has also been going through and answering some of those questions. And if either Mr. Rand or Ms. Dickens can actually alert us to any of the questions that have not been answered, perhaps we can go ahead and answer some of those questions now with the time that we have left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure thing. So I thank you all. This has been such good comments and questions. I did want to note that all of the comments that we're getting, we will be providing that to you all. So we are taking them in. We are absorbing them. It's a little bit difficult to respond to each of the comments individually because there is so much great feedback. And also we got some questions on previous surveys. All of our survey results will be available on the website. There are a couple of different projects going on down here. So this one is specifically on the Riverview Community Plan. We got some questions about a meeting that may have taken place in a hotel that might have been another agency's meeting. So I just wanted to kind of respond to some of those questions that were coming in that I saw. But I'm going to read the questions that I have in my notes as I was copying and pasting them over. And then if there's something that we missed or you all didn't see your question answered, if you could please put it in the, ideally the Q&A, but the chat will work as well. And then we will continue to get to those as they come in. So the first question is, it seems that one of the desires of the community was to create a town center for the Riverview area. The previous community plan recognized the 301 and Riverview Drive / Baum Riverview Road was to be the downtown area for review and design standards that were adopted into the LDC. How is this being carried over into this vision and community plan update?
So that's a great statement of fact in the existing plan for Riverview Drive and US 301 on the north side of the river, as well as a couple of blocks on the south side, kind of as a Main Street district for Riverview. One of the things that we've heard from the people that live in Riverview, as well as the businesses in Riverview, is they are looking for multiple places to actually meet, multiple places for recreation, multiple places for public uses. And that's kind of what a main street would do. You would have all of those uses. So one of the first things that we were doing is we were looking at some of your larger intersections for some of that, and that's what the nodes do, and the corridors then feed into it. Riverview Drive in US 301 still should certainly be considered possibly a node or a community asset in the future. And that's one of the things that we want to have conversations with this group and other groups like it in the future, is to have just that understanding of where in the community the neighborhoods want to gather, what types of uses they want there. And then, especially since there's already code work specifically for that area, does it work? So some of the business owners in that area or some of the residents in that area, do they see the development that is occurring in that area as positive to the community? And if so, let's go ahead and elevate that and continue that. If there's an issue with it, let's have a conversation about it and see how we can make it better.
Thanks so much. Appreciate that. So the next question that we got was, sorry, I had a lot. So you have no idea why there was a temporary light. We got this a couple of times about traffic lights. There was a couple of different folks who asked about a traffic light at Baum, Riverview, and Sims Road. It was up for a short time while construction was happening on Sims. That is something that is handled by Hillsborough County Public Works. Victoria or Jay, I don't know if one of you all can put the link to the where you can report that in the chat, and that's probably the best way to get that fixed. We coordinate with Hillsborough County Public Works, but they are a separate entity from us. We will certainly pass along this information, but that's unfortunately something that we don't have information on this evening. So appreciate your question. Understand there's a concern. And we'll do our best to get you in touch with the right people, but unfortunately the folks who are on tonight wouldn't have that information.
Ms. Dickens, I just put a PDF into the chat that actually provides contact information for a variety of county departments. Since some of these questions that are being asked might be better answered by other county departments, we can hopefully lead people in the right direction.
Great. Okay, thank you. Okay, there was a question on 301. It was brought up that an overpass is in consideration from the Crosstown to Big Bend. Is this still in play?
So that is part of the ongoing study that the Tampa Hillsborough Expressway Authority is conducting. That study is at the request of the Board of County Commissioners. So they are doing that study. This is a meeting specifically about the Riverview Community Plan update, but it is our understanding that THEA, Tampa Hillsborough Expressway Authority, will have public meetings here later on this year or into next year about that study.
Okay, thank you.
I am posting in the chat I know there was some problems with the link before, so I'm posting the text for the US 301 study website, so that hopefully that will work for folks that want to go on there and get more information.
Yeah, and we were hearing that there were some browser issues potentially. So if that link doesn't work in the initial browser that you use, it didn't for me either. We found out that it might work if you try another browser, but certainly we'll make sure to coordinate with Thea and get that issue addressed, and then also have the information up on our website as well. Okay, so we did have a question. Are you actually planning to do anything about our feedback?
Yeah, so that's what this is all about. So again, part of what you saw in this was that we ended up having 13 goals. We had conversations with folks previously to basically take those 13 goals and distill them down into themes. We also did a strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats with the public at that time. And that information we used to actually build out the vision and the goals that you see today. So part of what you're doing today, especially when you had some of those conversations with us about what types of strategies you see for goals 1 through 6, we'll be coming back to you to show you how some of your input, we can actually write policy about some of the strategies. Some of the things also we want to tell you that it's good feedback. Like I saw one thing that said pickleball courts left open after 8 o'clock. So that's very specific. And we do also have what we call a non-adopted section where we basically call it a grocery list, where we put a lot of that type of thing where we would say, can we see the recreation centers be left open later? Or can the recreation centers have lights on the pickleball courts if they're not there today, which may be part of the reason why they're not open up at night? I don't know, speculation, right? So again, that's part of our feedback loop that we have. So the next time we have a public meeting with you, whether it's later this summer or in the fall, you'll be able to see some of your words tonight into some draft policy.
Thanks, Jay. I do see we have a hand. I'm going to try to get to the questions that we asked in the chat first and then go to hands. So we want to just make sure we're able to get to everyone, but I do see you. Okay, so the next question was how do we create these centers when we continue to allow overdevelopment of the area? We have little infrastructure with lots of structures and a ton of people. How do we create town centers without creating more congestion?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. A lot of it needs to deal with interconnectivity. So you need to have access management between those commercial properties, the residential properties. Basically, you need to build grids at some of those intersections. And also, it would be through redevelopment, right? So if you look at the intersection of Big Ben and 301 or the intersection of Bloomingdale and 301, those are built out intersections. So the idea here is to actually look at redevelopment opportunities in the future. And again, your community plan is looking 10, 15 years out, just like the comprehensive plan, which is looking out to 2045.
Thanks, Jay. So we had a question that I think might be for another meeting, but the question is, where in your published survey did you show that all meeting attendees were against an elevated highway? I don't know if you want to talk about our survey results generally and where we put them.
Andrea or
Yeah,
Victoria, you want to talk
yep.
about those?
Yeah, I can talk about that. So if you go on our website, you will see all of the survey results that we analyzed. Um, don't want to go too much in the weeds with it. But we did receive a lot of feedback on the elevated expressway. I will say that not 100% of respondents said that they were opposed to an elevated expressway. We did receive some comments that were for it. But if you would like to see all of those notes, you can access it on our website, all of those presentations.
I would also
And
say if
just
you took the separate, there was this, I think, US 301 study that Thea is doing. They have their own survey. So if you're referring to their survey, I would say go to their website and contact them for any results or see what information that they have, because they have a separate survey than what we are doing.
Thanks for that information. Yeah, everything is on our website that you can go and find. Okay, so this next question might be a little rhetorical. I'm not sure if it's more of a comment, but I did want to read it. What do we have to do to get you to stop trying to mix a quiet community into some crazy urban center? Hey Jay, we're having a little trouble hearing you. I'm not sure if anyone else is having that issue, but you sound a little muffled.
yeah, hopefully this is sort of to be speaker. I was going to say, the meeting that often is applies to the limited some we start looking so again, on staff, that is not actually. Can you guys hear me?
No, I was not sure if it was just me, but it seems like there's a few folks. So I can, while Jay's figuring out the audio stuff, I can try to respond to this. So this is an important step in the process for the community plan. Some of the changes that have been seen thus far are a result of other things that are outside of this effort. We are working as hard as possible to get the feedback from you all now about what you would like to see long range in the future. So appreciate that comment. We're assuming it's probably more of a comment than a question. So we did see that and we'll note it. There was
And
another
I would
question.
just
Oh,
add
go
to
ahead,
that,
please.
if you have a strong opinion about what you think Riverview should look like in 10 years and beyond for the future, if you disagree with the node locations or anything proposed, please give us that information. Send us a comment, public comment, take the survey, because the more information we have, the more the more input we have, the better we can be with crafting that community plan.
And just to add, hopefully now you guys can hear
Yes,
me,
you're back.
that again, your Riverview community plan is adopted policy in the comprehensive plan, and we are updating that plan, which will again be adopted into the comprehensive plan. And that is a series of public hearings in front of your elected officials, the Board of County Commissioners. So, as staff, we work with the community to update this policy, but we then hand it off to a public hearing format where we and you, the public, provide that information to the Board of County Commissioners. So again, staff is not a final say so on your plan. That would be your elected officials.
Yeah, thank you. That's an important point, Jay. This is something that ultimately you want to pay attention to all the way through the process, particularly when the decision makers make a final decision on things. Okay, so we had a question about, are there plans to add another road crossing the river in the plan? Valerie, excuse my pronunciation, Valerie Lane was on the 50-year plan but was removed. Has that changed?
So I know that it is a strategy of the plan to look for another river crossing. I would assume that the community will continue to look for another river crossing. However, to our knowledge, for those that are on this call, we do not know of a river crossing. That makes sense. You know, Kings, Valerie, any of these areas that over the years have been discussed is still just a discussion.
Okay, and we recognize that folks are here taking time out of their personal time. We still have a few more questions that came in the chat, but I know that the person with their hand up has been waiting patiently. So can we unmute them and they can ask the question that way? And we do see your other questions in the chat as well.
Perfect. Good evening. Thank you, everyone, for hosting the meeting. I do really appreciate it. My one thing is kind of about stormwater and development. So taking a look 10, 15 years down the road, with the rate of development that's happening now and the loss of certain green spaces, I have a real concern if we have back-to-back hurricanes like we did the other year, significant storm surge. We've essentially developed our natural sponge. So what are we doing in this community plan to look at that? So I'll give you an
So
example. By the park, the TGH is building a huge apartment complex for their residents up by a park. Well, that land is an old phosphate mine that is currently used as a sponge when the Alafai River expands. So that's being developed, which means it has to be raised because it's in a flood zone. So with that being raised, you now eliminate that sponge so everyone downriver gets that water. So what is in the plan to accommodate for that?
yeah, so part of those strategies, I think you're right. I think we see a lot of development. I think the storms were more prevalent. I think we need to be asking ourselves about resiliency and sustainability for development for 2050 and beyond, hardening our seashores so that we can actually take some of this water that's going to come. And a lot of it is we need better decisions and better engineering on some of these. We need to find areas that we can go ahead with stormwater management plans. And I think that that's part of these conversations that we can write policy about, but in the end, we have to actually look at the Public Works Department and the Stormwater departments to actually enact some of those things. So I think by having the conversation in the plan, it's a stepping stone to ask for better types of policies for development in your community. So having the conversation is the first step. The second step is to basically pressure for that better development down the road.
My only concern with looking at it that far down the road is we're going into hurricane season, right? So if we don't try to curtail some of the development now and give the county time to implement strategies and plans, we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot here. Like we gotta move. We can't necessarily think 25 years down the road when this could impact us all tomorrow, right? And then you have to also think if something happens to the water reservoir, that water is designed to go into the Alafai River. That is a lot of water if that dam or anything in that system breaks. So, really, we really should look at water management, storm management before development. That is a big, big concern.
Those are great comments and certainly some that we'll take under advisement.
So I do see another hand raised. We did have two folks ahead of you in the chat, so I just want to make sure that they get their questions answered. And then I think we're probably gonna, just to be respectful of everyone's time, try to, Andrea, this meeting was supposed to end at 7, is that correct?
Yes, that
Okay,
is
so I just
correct.
want to make sure that we're respectful of everyone's time. If you think of another question, if you want to email us, we'd be happy to. If someone could put the project page link again into the chat for folks, that's a really good way to get in touch with us if you didn't get your questions answered. So I'm going to go with the 3 questions that we have left, again, just to be respectful of people's times. The first question, I don't know if anyone from Thea is on, but we got a question. Is the Expressway Authority looking at alternatives to the elevated expressway, like building additional lanes on I-75 or other north-south corridors besides just 301? So I don't know if there's anyone from Thea still here that we can perhaps unmute. It looks like maybe Daniel, are we able to unmute Anna? Anna Quinones? So Anna, if you can still hear
Yes.
us, we recognize that sometimes people take this meeting and need to step away or something. But Anna, if you're still on, we did get a question for you. Okay, Anna might be having technical difficulties, so we will get back with you on that question. That's a great question. The next question was, will there be votes on these policies later on?
Melissa, I think you cut out the end there.
Oh, I'm sorry. The next question is, and it kind of speaks to what Jay was talking about earlier with the process, but will there be votes on these policies later on down the line?
So that would be your Board of County Commissioners through a public hearing process.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And we are still many, many months away from finalizing anything. So this isn't what you see today is just the draft for the vision and the goals. The next will be the draft for the strategies and any revisions to the vision and the goals from this meeting and the survey results and other information that we're taking in from the public.
Yes, and if you are attended tonight's meeting or a past meeting, you're on our constant contact list, so you'll be getting notified via email when those hearings do come up, so that or future community meetings.
Yeah. Just if people missed it earlier, could we put the contact information for the Mosaic Plan Amendment in the chat. That is something that's separate from this process, and I am seeing a number of comments coming in. We don't have any control over that application. This group doesn't, so I would suggest that that be you reach out to the folks who are in that list that's coming in the chat. And then I think those were our final questions that I saw in the chat. Again, if you said you had a question you didn't get it answered, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to try to answer it. But with that, Daniel, can we unmute Stacy Ransom and hear their question, please? And Stacy, you'll have to unmute yourself. There you go.
I just saw that. Okay, thank you so much. So mine was kind of a follow-up to the gentleman that spoke. So I live and have lived in the area for 20 plus years, between Brandon and Riverview, and just so happens that it seems like every house I buy is in a conservation area. So it's almost like a comment slash question of, I know we have so many requirements in our individual and all the neighborhoods I've lived in of how much green space versus how many structures versus whatever. I guess my question then becomes, how does Riverview as a whole not have that same rule? Because this is definitely, when I first moved here, it was completely not as developed as this. So it's kind of interesting to me that they have, while in these individual neighborhoods and all these HOAs, we have to follow those rules. It seems like the Riverview area as a whole is not doing the same. So is that a consideration that they have when they're selling every plot of land on top of each other to these people, that as a whole there should be some sort of consideration for the area of green space versus structure, so that, to their point, for anybody that knows about, my cousin works in this, so that's how I know as much as I do. But just about how to, make sure that we can still breathe when we walk out of the door, because we've turned all the trees down because we don't have trees to help us have oxygen.
Yeah, so that's a good comment. So all neighborhoods in the unincorporated Hillsborough County, they are going to meet the minimum land development regulations set forth by Hillsborough County. And I say that with the idea of not asking for waivers, because that goes into another thing, right? Then what you're talking about with your HOA. So there's already a minimum requirement for open space in the subdivision. Then the HOA may go above and beyond that. The HOA also may go above and beyond with your landscaping requirements. The HOA may go above and beyond with the sidewalks that you have. But there are sidewalk regulations for the county, but maybe your HOA wants 6-foot sidewalks and the county only says you have to have 5-foot sidewalks. So that's part of the give and take of living in an HOA neighborhood is you're living under those rules as well as the county rules. So you see that. You'll also see, obviously, there's differences within the neighborhoods because some people may live in a 5,000 square foot lot. Some people may live in a quarter-acre lot or a half-acre lot. And those subdivisions are going to look, feel, and act differently for the development. Same thing with your environmental that you have with conservation. Sometimes the neighborhood sets property aside as a wetland because it is a wetland. It's protected. The county protects that. And then your home may back up to it. But it's still a wetland, and that's how the county actually, its minimum standards for it. And then perhaps the HOA may actually do something additional to that. Stacy, I don't know if that helped with some of that answer. I don't know if Ms. Dickens or anybody else has anything to add to that.
No, I thought that was a really good overview, Jay. And yeah, I think you explained it very well. I don't really have anything to add, so thank you. I think Andrea, or Victoria, I think we're set to transition back to you all.
Yes, Stacy said I can't unmute, but that does help. And I think someone else posted about something related to that question in the chat. But yes, okay. So thank you everybody for joining us tonight. If we missed a comment or a question, please feel free to reach out to us. Our contact information is in the chat. And the project website has everything. We'll also be out in the community tomorrow evening at Riverview High at 6 p.m. Please feel free to come down and ask us more questions, draw on the maps with us. Um, and I think that wraps up the meeting. So thank you all for staying even past 7 o'clock. And with that, I will ask Daniel to go ahead and close the meeting. Thank you, everybody.